Okay,
Okay, we on the air?
Yeah.
I even remembered to take my telephone off the hook, so we won't be interrupted. Well, thank you for all for attending tonight. I'm very pleased to be asked by CCO to do this yet again, and I hope that everybody can go away with at least one good idea. I decided in the end that this is going to be the basics of N1MM. Richard V3KI got into a lot of the intricacies in the last presentation. I went away with a couple of new ideas, but I thought it was a little high level for those who are just getting started. So this is N1MM for dummies. And I'm going to try and advance. Just a minute, I think. There we go. Okay. So just a little bit of personal information. I've been contesting since the late 50s, back when we did everything on paper, manually, no computers. And I'm not sure that it was more fun or less fun, but certainly it was a lot less drudgery. And as the technology has advanced, computers have come into their own. The operating rates and scores have certainly gone very much higher. And the ability to spend more of your time exercising your tactics and less pushing a pencil and paper have become available. Okay, moving on. I'd like to thank all of my contributors for this effort. Doug, who has figured out the Telnet window configuration for me, which will be revealed next week. Tony, V3RZ, who some years ago met me at a flea market and told me about the secrets of using Control plus up down to move around N1MM's band map, thus increasing the contact rate on search and pounce by at least 100%. Just a phenomenal technique. Rich V3KI, who revealed how to cancel the RIT settings on my transceiver automatically using the clear RIT macro. Stan V3, oh, I've misspelled his name. Stan V3TW, who told me about call history, and that's been very useful. And finally, my good friend Bert, who insists that I should be in the chair for the last 2 hours of every contest, and that has certainly paid off. In the last contest in which I was active, I think I had a run of approximately 120 contacts for the last 2 hours, and that's certainly a first for me. Don't try to make any notes during the presentation. I will upload a zip file of all the slides that you're going to see tonight. It'll go to www.cco.groups.io, and you can download it from there and play them back at your leisure. Incidentally, if you have any questions while we're proceeding here, come up with them right at the moment, because you may forget what it is you were going to ask, or I might forget what it was I was talking about. Hello, I've got email here. Let me just cancel that out. Okay, so here we go. First of all, what will logging software do for you? It'll send your CW and log your contacts. It will prevent duplicate contacts. It'll show a band-by-band score tally. It'll provide a real-time rate meter. This is QSOs per hour. It'll provide a enter sends message feature, so you don't have to type in a lot of information. You can just keep pressing enter, and the world will send your exchange. It'll display a chart of worked or missing multipliers. And when I started using that in the sweepstakes contest, I started having clean sweeps. We just finished another sweepstakes contest, and I just had my third clean sweep in a row. I have one mug on my desk. I have another one in transit. And this has never happened before. I spent most of my life chasing that clean sweep where you work every multiplier in the contest. And I'd always be very close. But Nebraska would elude me, or Vermont would hide in the bushes. And so I never made them all. But in the last 3 years, I've done it 3 times. The software will provide a current band map for very fast search and pounce, where you don't have to use your mouse, you don't have to tune your receiver, you just simply use a couple of key presses to move up and down the band map. And as you do this, N1MM will track your transceiver along with the band map settings, and you'll stop at every new contact. It will not stop at prior contacts. So you automatically eliminate duplicate contacts. This is nothing short of amazing. It will autofill most of your input exchange information on the entry window using the call history feature. So that saves you a lot of typing. All you have to do is make sure that what you're hearing agrees with what is auto-filled. And on occasion, it will not agree. Nothing is cast in stone. So that's the only requirement. And in the end, it will allow quick and accurate duplication and filing of your logbook and your contest summary. So your post-contest paperwork would take maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I remember in the good old days, my contest mentor was Ernie Welling, V3HD, I think that was his call. And Ernie would go in the big contests, and he would spend weeks after the contest going through his dupe sheet, duplicating his logbook, and doing all the paperwork before he finally was able to mail it all off. So he would love this feature. Moving on. If you're contesting without a computer, you're having fun, but you're not competing. You're not right up there with the real world of contesting using the most recent techniques, and almost everybody else is already doing this. I've made this statement a few times in my National Contest Journal columns, and it's always true. If you're contesting without a computer, you're having fun, but you're not competing. The most popular contesting software today seems to be the N1MM Plus contest logger. I did a survey some years ago, actually, as to who was using what. And almost everybody I queried, and it was a large group, all said they were using the N1MM contest logger. It's free, it's very well supported, it's extremely well documented, and it has an online active users group, which is second to none. So you really can't lose. Who are you going to compete with in this contest? Well, being in Ontario, here are a lot of the guys you're going to compete with. This was taken at one of the CCO picnics out at the V3 EJ's QTH. You can tell it's V3 EJ's QTH from all of the towers and antennas. And this is just a very small percentage of everything that John has in his backyard. You'll probably see a few familiar faces in this group. The only one I have not been able to find is my own. And so either I didn't attend this year, or I got this photograph from somebody else, or I took the photograph myself. I can't remember, but I think that's Doug hiding there in the background, 3MB. Okay.
I
With
think
who
that's
will
an
you
older
compete? Well,
one,
you're
Mike.
not going to compete with. Okay. Hello? Hello?
Sorry to interrupt, Mike, just to let everybody know. And if that's an older one, by the way, I'm not in that one, and I've only been an older picture from the barbecue, and Peter West is in the front, and he wasn't there this year, and I was.
Oh, it's certainly not the most current photograph. I grabbed it from my files. So you're right. anyway, unless you're another big gun station like John V3EJ, it's unlikely you're going to try and embarrass John by beating him in the contest. John has acres of towers, miles of ground radials, and an amazing ability to spend 24 hours in a chair, I think, without standing up once. I certainly can't do that. And my technique, and the one that I advocate, is to compete against yourself so that your frame of reference is realistic. You're competing against the same power, the same antennas, the same skill levels, and the same tactics. And keep a record of your scores, go back through your logs, and see if you can beat last year's scores. If you're going into a sunspot minimum or coming out of one, it's sometimes a little difficult to do that because conditions are different. But nonetheless, that's the viable way of doing it. My immediate competition is Doug V3MV, Stan V3TW, and Bert V3NR. We all have similar antennas, similar real estate resources, and our scores generally are fairly close. But mostly I compete against myself. And you can see that in 2014, I took the Contest Club Ontario plaque for the ARRL International DX contest. I was really only trying to beat last year's score, and somehow I ended up with High Canada, one of my great achievements. Okay, here we go. To install N1MM contest logging software, and you're not going to be able to follow this and write it all down and so forth while I'm telling you, but you'll see the process, and then you can go through the slides later on or look at the recording. It's very straightforward. Number one, you Google N1MM Plus download. You click on N1MM Plus full install. You download the full installer. You browse to computer downloads. You double click on the N1MM logger full installer. You download, install, and run the latest version updater. This is an important part of the process. You double click on the new N1MM screen shortcut. Fill out the station information sheet and follow the prompts for the program updates. It's as straightforward as that. Of course, you'll get into trouble because you won't follow the instructions exactly. But it took me 20 minutes, I think, on a computer which did not have N1MM presently installed before I was up and running. Configuring the N1MM software is a fairly important part of the process. And the easiest feature, this is a feature whereby when you're sending information, instead of typing data into your entry window, you just keep pressing the enter key. Enter sends message, and it's very quick. And you'll find that it really does work very well. I operated Field Day a few years ago using I think it's the N1 FJP software because everybody else insisted on using it. It does not have ESM, and I really missed it. I really appreciated the feature of the N1MM software after that particular operation. The next one that you want to look at is the multipliers. Oh, just to come back to ESM, it's just a question of ticking off a box. You go to the top menu, to the config menu. You press, you go down to enter sends message. And it's called the ESM mode, and you tick that off. And now you've configured N1MM to always function with ESM active. The other is the multipliers window. And for some contests where multipliers are important, the software has provided you with great versatility in keeping track of the multipliers that you want to work, you have worked, or you would like to work. and the ones that are available on the air. In this particular case, in the top menu, you go to Window, Multipliers, and down to Sections and States, etc. The multiplier screen shows you the status of all the multipliers, whether they're available, worked, or not worked yet. And you can click on any multiplier with your mouse, which will immediately send your transceiver to that frequency. It will also connect your transceiver to the desirable antenna if you have your system set up that way. And you're ready to go. This is what I call Star Wars contesting. It's just amazing to see it in action. And it's one of the fun aspects of modern contesting. In this case, the mouse is a handy thing to have. And my technique where I'm keeping up with multipliers is to go to this multipliers window about every half hour or so and just check to see if there are multipliers that I need that have become available that I have not yet worked. The only hazard with all of this automation is that if you send your transceiver to that frequency, it may not be on the band you are presently set up for. So you have to ensure in your system that when the transceiver changes bands with your mouse click, it will automatically change to the proper antenna, or you'll suddenly find yourself transmitting into an SWR of about 1,000 to 1. Contest multipliers. Serious contests, you really know that multipliers are where you win or lose a contest. And then taking that station up to another band or down to another band so that he gets a contest multiplier credit twice, if that's possible. But it's the multipliers that really cause your score to greatly expand, particularly in the latter part of the contest, where every contact you have might work out to be 1,000 points or 2,000 points or something of that sort. So my technique has always been to chase multipliers early in the contest, acquire as many as possible, and then on the latter part of the contest, just boost my contact score as high as I can to work with those multipliers. I'm going to show you a screen of the multipliers window halfway through the recent ARRL sweepstakes contest. Here's the multipliers window. The red ones are the ones I still need. The blue ones are the ones I've worked already. So about a 50. And here's one here for Puerto Rico. He obviously is not on the air at the present time. Neither is the northern part of Ontario. Any others that we're missing? Don't think so. Tony, I keep getting these messages about an instability. So am I coming through okay? Hello? Well, I'm going to assume
Yeah, Mike. Sorry, Mike. You sort of occasionally. I don't know if other people are hearing it, but occasionally there's a lag or something in the audio.
Yeah, Mike, you might want to turn off your video, and because it might be a bandwidth issue.
My video?
Yeah, your video that you're sharing your face with, not the screen, just the video on your.
Oh, okay. How can I do that?
You click on the camera icon.
Bottom left corner. And just
up here?
Where it says start video.
Bottom left corner.
Hide the thumbnail video. Okay. Let's see if that does the trick. Thank you for the idea. Okay, so let's proceed. So
Mike, you haven't turned your video off.
What's that?
Yeah, I'll turn your video off for you.
Okay. Do I still have audio here?
Yes, you do.
You're good.
I'm okay?
Yep.
Okay, I'll proceed then. So this is the multipliers window. The basic screen for N1MM can be anything that you want to see. And you'll see my personal preferences for using the software. However, nothing is cast in stone. The windows can be moved anywhere around on the screen, resized, and how many windows you wish to display will depend on the size of the monitor that you're using. I tend to use the biggest monitor which I have space. So you can set up the software to please your eye, please yourself. And if there's available space, you can run other programs at the same time. Very, very versatile software. Okay, configuring N1MM. The next screen shows the basic N1MM setup, and I will not have activated the telnet window yet, which you'll find over here when I show you the screen. The band map window is on the left side over here. And to get there and activate it, you go to the top menu and you go to Window and Band Map. You won't find any stations posted there because you're not connected to the telnet. The entry window in my setup is down in this area. And to set that up, you go to top menu, go to Window, and click on Entry Window. The info window with a rate meter, which tells you your present rate or contacts per hour, is in the middle in my screen. And to set that up, you go to the top menu, you go to Window, and you activate Info, INFO. My logbook is at the top of the screen. And to activate that, you go to Window, and come down and activate the log screen. I have the score summary at the upper right, and I find it handy to keep track of how I'm doing. And to activate that, you go to Window, it's already very repetitive, and activate score summary. And then the telnet window, which will take a lot of time to talk about later on, is at the lower right-hand corner. And you go to Window, and come down and activate the telnet screen. So let's take a look at the screen. There we are. So just repeating again, the entry screen is down at the bottom. The info screen with your rate meter, here's your rate meter, not filled out because it's not an active contest, is here. The ongoing logbook here, and you can enter log during the contest. Band map is over here, and it will look differently depending on which version of the band map you're using. But it doesn't matter how it looks, you'll find it's a very handy device. The contest scoring is over here. You can see I'm in the sweepstakes CW contest. And down here is the telnet window. Okay, so let's go through this again. Band map is on the left side. You activate it by doing Window, Band Map. There's the band map. The entry window is on the bottom, and you activate it by doing Window, Entry Window, or Entry Screen. The info window with your rate meter is in the middle, and you activate it with Window Info. Here it is here. I've put the arrow on the rate meter. The logbook is in the middle top, and you activate it with Window Log. Here's your logbook. The score summary is in the upper right, and you activated that, or you activate that with Window Score Summary. Here's your scorecard up here. And your telnet screen is activated with Window Telnet. That's in the lower right-hand corner down here. All of these windows can be resized, moved around. They can be turned off or expanded. It all depends on how much space you have on your monitor screen and what you want to see. The basic setup lets you use N1MM as a contest log without even using the Telnet facility. It's still a very handy piece of software. It will create a log file for you, show you your contact rate, prevent duplicate contacts, and let you export log files and contest summaries. To see the DX cluster or the internet spots on the band map, which you remember is over here, you first have to configure the Telnet window, which is down here. It's a fairly complex procedure, and I'll cover that in part 2 of this presentation. And my friend Doug V3MV has spent quite a number of hours presenting me with the information so that I could condense it even further and make it as straightforward and housewife level capable as I could. To have the program send CW for you, you have to first configure the interface between the program and the transceiver. And I'll cover, how to do that in the second half of the presentation. That is reasonably straightforward, but you might have to download some drivers for your particular software from your manufacturer. Okay, moving on. Choose your contest. We're now getting into the nitty-gritty of how to set up N1MM. To render N1MM useful, you first have to choose the contest in which you wish to operate from a very long list. I challenge you to find a contest for which N1MM is not configured. And even the multiple QSO parties can all be set up, to my experience, from within the basic N1MM software without having to go out and write your own macros. To do that, you go to the upper left in the N1MM screen, which I'll show you in a moment, to the File menu, and you go to New Log in Database. New Log in Database. So I'm showing the log that I've set up as the sweepstakes contest. And here we are in select contest type for new log. It'll tell you when the contest starts, and it will give you a number of parameters that you can set up initially. The operator can be a single operator, multiple operators. You can work all bands, single bands. You can specify high power, low power, the mode CW or single sideband, or both, because some contests allow mixed operation. The overlay is part of the individual contest log file that you'll want to set up. The station is fixed or mobile or remote. You can operate in the traditional fashion, or you can operate assisted, which means that you can use the internet features. You can have one transmitter or more. This is not my particular exchange for the sweepstakes, but it shows you what the sweepstakes exchange will be when you set this up properly, and the call sign. The soapbox lets you fill in some comments for later publication. So first you have to choose your contest. Then you have to configure your contest. Later on, we'll come to this associated files option, where there are some other files that have to be configured for the contest. Okay, so these are the things you want to know. How many operators? the bands you'll operate, the power level, the mode, fixed or mobile, you're going to use the internet or not, how many transmitters, what's your transmit exchange, and for me it would have been U56, which is my licensing date, and GH, which is the new section for the Toronto area, the Golden Horseshoe. I don't know who came up with that one. Sure did create a lot of confusion with our American cousins. And then you want to list the operators, which is basically me. Okay, then you want to look at the files associated with your chosen contest. I'm going to go forward so you can see the screen. There is the associated file button that you'll push. I'll go backwards so I can talk about this. Sideband and digital. Oops. These are the default messages down. Sorry. No, I haven't gone yet to associated. So let me just go back. Sorry for the confusion. The default messages that they will post are for CW, sideband, and digital. These are called MC files, and the software provides you with basic files for all three modes that will contain the information that will be sent when any of the N1MM function keys are pressed. So this is basically a file that controls the information that will be sent when you press a function key within the software, or if you're using enter sends message. Now these messages can easily be edited. I'll show you how to do this. And the version will be saved. And the new save time N1MM is launched. I have a library of MC files for contests that starts up here, and the list goes down to there. It's huge because I've done a lot of contesting, and every one of those MC files required editing. Sometimes you want to edit them in the middle of the contest because you're just not quite happy with the way the contest is using them. And according to this, you'll end up with a library of backed up, carefully edited MC files, one for each contest in which you use N1MM. You're going to love this feature. For example, a lot of people are confused by my call sign. On CW, it's .audit, GFN. And they come up with all kinds of variations when I send it fast. So I put spaces, and I'll show you this, between the letters in the MC file to just slow down the transmission of my call sign. And I have very few questions about who I am. Okay, associated files. This is what you see when you click on associated files. These are the function files for CW, sideband, and digital. This is what I call the MC file for ARRL SSCW. That's not what the software called the original. It said something about defaults, but these are all, this is my own file. I haven't worked the sideband version of the contest, and I probably will never work the digital version. So these are the original messages that N1MM posted. And here is a call history file. We'll talk about call history. These call history files are available on the internet. And when you call up a call history file from within N1MM, it knows where to go. And if it doesn't agree that the most modern version is the same as the one posted, you have the option of changing it, and it will change it for you. For the CWT contest, the CWT contest that the CW Ops folks run every week, this call history changes every week. So every week, part of my configuration for the contest is to load a new call history file, because new operators have come along with their numbers, with their names, and the call history is very handy. Okay, editing your messages. That's what this title is all about. When you choose the contest in which you plan to operate, N1MM, as I mentioned, will load the associated files that are unique to that contest. And if you modify the default file, then it'll load your new version with your new file name. And the contents of these files can be changed by right-clicking on one of the function keys shown on the N1MM entry window. And when you do that, you'll see this kind of text. This is for run messages. This is for search and pounce. I'm just going to get closer so I can see it more clearly. For example, you can see in my call sign, I've inserted spaces between the G and the F. So it slows down my call sign transmission just a little bit on CW. So it's not dot it, did it, it's dot it, did it, and that makes a difference. The macro that you see after here is called the clear RIT macro, and you can insert this in a few places. One place you can insert it is after your CQ. Another place you can insert it is when you're thanking somebody for the contact. What it does is return your RIT setting if you had set it away from 0 back to 0. Very handy, because if you don't do this, your left or right hand in the middle of the contest is going to become very, very tired cranking it back to 0 after each time you've used it. Okay. Now, just an expanded version of that screen. There's my slow down technique for my call sign. There's the clear RIT macro, and there it is again. So what I basically do is put it at the end of the contact. This is where ESM, or enter sends message, gets you down to the end of the contact, and you say thank you, and you send your call sign indicating that for your run you're ready for your next caller, but you also return your RIT down to 0 for the next caller. When you're searching and pouncing, you don't really use clear RIT, but I stuffed it in there anyway, just in case I might need it. A couple of these settings that I've done, and remember, these are the function keys on your keyboard. So on F1, I call CQ. On F2, that stores the exchange. F3 is end of contact, thank you, clear the RIT, and send my call sign. F4 lets me send my call sign without any other transmissions. That's very, very useful. So if you call somebody, and I can call somebody by pressing the enter key, and he says QRZ, all I have to do is press F4, and my call sign is sent again with no other extraneous information. F6 is just the greeting for FOC members, of which I happen to be one. F7 is a repeat of my present location for the contest, which is the Golden Horseshoe. And I send it several times because these guys will take a long time to get used to it. If I need some repeats, I press the F8 key and it says again, question mark. And if I just want to send a question mark without the again, I press F9. And I use this for every contest. So although I have a piece of paper across the top of my contesting keyboard, and it has all of these bits of information, I never look at it because I've memorized all of this so long ago. F12 is handy if there's information on my screen in the entry window and I want to get rid of it. F12 will wipe out the entry screen and return it to to blank windows. The same is true for the S&P messages, with very, very little difference. Okay, call history lookup. One of the most useful features is the call history feature in N1MM. The software stores details on many regular contest operators and inserts the appropriate details in your entry window, saving you the work of typing it into each contact you make. Now, please pay attention. Nothing is cast in stone. Part of that exchange will be the location of the operator, and he may have moved. If it's a different operator in the same call sign, he will probably have a different year in which he was licensed. So you're going to find that some of this information is different than what you see in your entry window. And the trick is to catch that error before it goes into the log. And N1MM is so clever that generally, if you just type the new information at the end of the box, it will ignore what is cast, what is already in the window, and it will pay attention only to what you have typed, particularly in the sweepstakes contest. Very, very handy. In order to get into the call history information, you go to the config menu, way up at the top of N1MM screen, and you enable call history. And again, N1MM will show you the call history file it presently has, and you can look at what you have, and it offers the ability to change it. There's the call history file, the call history option, rather. There is the newest call history file for the most recent sweepstakes contest. And if I don't like that, if it has a more recent version, I can change it by pressing change. Okay, I do believe we've come to the end. There's the end of part 1. And I think I'm within my hour, which I wanted to be. So we're open to questions, if I can hear them. I should be alone here and I'm not seeing anything. Anybody out there?
Yeah, we're here, Mike. Don't worry. But your internet.
Oh, I hear a voice. Tony, is that you?
Yeah.
Can we turn the video back on again now?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you have to turn the video back on.
No, you can. You just, in fact, you have to. You just go down to your, you see where that
I just pressed start video and I got a message saying that my host turned it off, so he has to turn it back on again.
That's interesting. No, I can ask to start video.
Okay.
There you go. You're back.
I don't see it.
Oh, I see
In fact,
you.
I don't see anybody. Oh, wait a minute. I don't see anybody.
We see you.
Shall I stop the screen sharing?
Yeah, stop the screen share. It's because of your view that you've set up.
Ah, that's better. Ah, you're all back there again. Hello, everybody. How did it come through, except for the little instabilities? I've noticed that in the recording when I looked at it as well. Was it mostly comprehensive?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay. Any questions?
I was just the squiggly that you put in between your call sign letters. So instead of a space, it's less than a space between, like, you know, where you go DE space and then your call sign.
Yeah.
It's a short, shorter gap. Eh?
The character that I used, I forget what the name of it is.
It's called a tilde.
What's that?
It's called a tilde.
A tilde, that's right. And it's in the upper left-hand corner of your keyboard. And it's in the uppercase part of that button.
Yeah, basically what
it's a little wiggly thing.
It sends half a space.
So it's not a big space, but it's just enough to separate the letters so that they're more comprehensible for CW. Do you see the character on your keyboard?
Yeah, yeah. And by that's handy because I have a problem with people are missing the E once in a while, and maybe putting a space in front of it might help it easier. Get it.
It'll make all the difference. And if it still doesn't work, use two of them, one right after the other. It's just a tiny little space, but it does make a big difference.
Yeah, what other people can do as well is that you can put in, and I think in N1MM, I haven't used it myself, but you can put the angle brackets pointing to the left, I think, increase this CW speed. Angle brackets pointing to the right, decrease the CW speed.
That would probably work as well. I think you can use any character that will not be recognized as a CW character, but which will space out the letters a little bit so that they're more easily comprehended.
You know,
but I've always used the tilde.
Yes, using the space is actually probably a better because it's all sent at the same speed. Whereas when people start messing with speeds going up and going down, it drives me crazy, actually.
I'm not sure that you would even notice the difference, frankly, because the spacing is so small, but it just spaces the letters out just a tad, so that they're more easily understood. But I've never had a problem with anybody misunderstanding my call sign when I use this technique from within the software. Any other questions? Must be a question or two out there. Gosh.
I have one, but I don't think we got to covering it in this part of the presentation. And it may not even be a subject. What I'm interested in, is there a way to do the hardware setup for two different radios? Oh, I understand single operator 2 radio, and that's not what I'm trying to configure. I'm trying to do two separate configurations. I have a home station and I have a portable station, and I would like to use N1MM in both situations. But if I have my home rig, which I use primarily for contesting, listed first, and then the other rig, it doesn't seem to find the second rig, or it complains. I wanted to know if there's a way to do an A configuration and a B configuration of hardware, which I could load at either time. And I haven't figured out how to do that by reading the manual yet.
Well, I'm not sure of your implications regarding the hardware, but I know in the configuration menu, when you start to set up the parameters for talking to your radio, whatever it is, you can choose, first of all, you can choose the COM port that you're going to connect to. You can choose the radio itself with whatever unique characteristics it has to see in the configuration. And you can just simply move your mouse back and forth between two or more configurations, which have different names like K3 and IC7610. And you're moving all of the parameters for the radio to another radio. That doesn't make sense. You're adapting the parameters in the configuration window to a different radio. So in other words, you set up one radio, then you set up another, then you set up a third, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you want to change radios, you just click on the appropriate radio in the configuration menu, and you should be all set to go. And that might even include different drivers for different transceivers, and that might include different COM ports. And I know for the ICOM rigs that I'm using, the 7610, and I think Doug will go along with me on this, we had to download driver software from the ICOM website, and they provided us with, I think, 2 new COM ports, virtual COM ports. and those are the ones that we use.
Mike,
But it's
can,
fairly, right?
yeah, I can probably help a little bit there as well. I'm pretty sure one of the ways you can do it, because Stuart, I presume what you want is you want at one point in time, you want to be operating this radio, and then in a different context, you want to be operating another radio.
Yes, an A and B configuration.
Yeah.
So
Right.
when I'm at home, I'm using just one radio, because when the one radio is not there, it doesn't seem to be very happy. It wants all the radios present or connected, even if they're not necessarily on. But as soon as one isn't present, it doesn't become very happy.
Now, what you can do is you set up N1MM with the one radio, say your home station radio, set it up, configure that with just that radio. Then what you do is you create a shortcut to N1MM. And
Okay.
you label that shortcut home station.
Yep.
Then you reconfigure it with your second radio, and you create another shortcut that says remote radio. Then what happens is when you click the shortcut that's home radio, it would load the configuration of the home radio. And when you click the remote shortcut, it would load the configuration of the remote radio.
That's certainly another way of doing it. I've never tried that, but it certainly sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you can do the same thing, for instance, if you want to set up it for working on CW and sideband and digital differently.
Yep.
And you can then create those shortcuts. And when you click on the shortcut, it would load whatever configuration you put together for that shortcut.
Yeah. But you only need one version. You only have one version of the software actually on your hard drive.
Yeah.
It's just when you load it, it loads different configurations depending on which version you called up. That sounds like a neat way of doing it.
I'll spend some time looking into that, Tony. If I have any questions, maybe I'll email you on the side and say, I missed this little bit of doing that. And
no worries. Yeah, you can do that. No problem.
thank you, Tony.
There's always a little bit that you miss, and it's always the most important part. I know. I've been in contact with the CPP and OAS folks this afternoon regarding checks that they deposit in our bank accounts on a regular basis. And there's a couple of forms that I have to download from